roasted potatoes. Right? How many of you like potatoes? Okay, as we talk about potatoes, we just studied vegetables, and vegetables that we're studying is potatoes, and potatoes are a tuber, if you recall. And they're cheap. I'm using red potatoes, and they're going to be red roasted potatoes with Parmesan and pesto. And the reason that I chose this demonstration is because we are growing basil. Basil is the ingredient in pesto. How many of you have had pesto before? All right, it's kind of high society, sounds impressive, which, you know, if you grow basil, we've got the basil growing over in our tower garden. This is what basil looks like if it's coming from the ground, okay? And also, when you buy it at the store, it might look like this. Okay, I recently purchased it. I bought this from Ruler Foods for 99 cents or 69 cents. This growing, if you were to get it while it's growing, was $3.99. It's expensive, okay? Or growing in our tower garden, the whole seed packet was 69 cents. And I think we have 3 people growing basil. Is there anybody in here who's planted basil? Okay, so from basil, that's what we've got. I've got, is this adjusted so you guys can see? Okay, the basil, I grabbed a few basil leaves from the tower garden. I'm also going to add some of the basil that we have here. So first we have to make pesto. Okay, in pesto I just said we have basil is one of the main ingredients. That's what gives it the green look. So in basil, I'm going to give my careers class, who's also working with this video to watch. But in the recipe, but I will share the recipe if any of you want this. I'm making a smaller batch. So it calls for 2 cloves of garlic. Okay, garlic, if you recall, is what kind of a vegetable? You got to peel it back, so therefore it's a bulb. Very good. Okay, so I took the bulb and it grows in a big knob with lots of garlic cloves. I pulled 1 garlic clove off. This is a garlic press, and I'm just squeezing. This is kind of fun. It reminds me of Play-Doh Fun Factory. Okay, and there, it looks like that one comes off and it's squeezed, and we don't have to worry about all that papery kind of product. So 2 cloves, and so I had 2 cloves in here. If you like garlic, how many of you like garlic? Or really garlic lovers? Okay. So I'll put another little bit in. This is purchased already diced, so I'll put just a little bit more in. Okay, it calls for 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Okay, so let's put a tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm using the food processor. Food processor is nice because it will take foods and grind it up in just no time flat. Okay, it calls for salt, just a hint of salt. So when you do a hint, I just put a little bit in my palm, sprinkle that in. It calls for pine nuts. Is anybody allergic to nuts? I didn't think so. Okay, so these are pine nuts. You could use walnuts, okay? But pine nuts are good because on the package, the pine nuts do contain protein, 4 grams of protein, and they do have some carbohydrates and a little bit of fat. So the pine nuts, it takes 2 tablespoons of pine nuts, not a lot. Again, you could substitute walnuts. Pine nuts are a little bit more expensive, but I wanted to give you a taste of something maybe you haven't had before. And that's the whole purpose of this demonstration, is to get you to eat some things that you haven't already had, learn about basil, which is an herb, and an herb that's easy to grow. You're growing it right now in the classroom. Okay? And so we're going to also put in our basil. So I'm going to put a whole container of basil in. Just put the whole thing in. I'm going to get rid of some of the stem. We don't really need the stem in it. Pull off the leaves. And we have passed around, did we pass around the basil?
Yeah, we did.
The other day, so you smell what the basil smelled like. I've got a good taste. When you buy basil, you do need to wash the leaves, because we don't know where it was growing, how it was growing, if there was birds pooping over the top of it.
You didn't wash it?
I did. It's wet. You feel it. I washed it. So that it was clean. Okay? And we're going to go ahead and just put it on the food processor. I'm also gonna add a little bit of this. This is actual basil that I grew in my tower garden, and I froze it. What I did is I put it in the food processor at my house after I picked it this summer, and I put a little bit of olive oil with it and just stuck it in the freezer. So, and I put it with about 2 tablespoons so that I could use it for flavoring of potatoes, of chicken, use it in pesto. So if you're growing it, like for instance, this is about ready to be harvested, and you're like, well, I don't need all that. You could go ahead, grind it up, and put it in the freezer so that you've got it, okay? The only thing I need to put in here yet is Parmesan cheese, and I'll be putting that in at the end. Okay, can y'all see? I can put this in. You can buy pesto already done, but do you think it's gonna be cheap or expensive? Expensive. And I couldn't even find it to the stores. Okay, it's gonna- It's pretty well ground, okay? Now I need to add 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. How many tablespoons are in 1/4 of a cup? How many tablespoons are in a cup? 16. Just like there's 16 cups in a gallon, so yes. So I'm gonna use 4, because I don't have a measuring cup. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I need 1/4 cup of warm water, just so it's a little bit more blended. So pesto is green. Some people are afraid of green things. I don't know why, but I don't like green things. I like cheese. How many of you like cheese? Okay. And I need 1/4 cup of olive oil.
Billy, Billy, Billy.
3. I'm gonna start with 3.
Billy.
That's what it looks like, so it's not so many calories. Okay. Can you see what that looks like for the mirror? Okay. All right, now we're gonna do the potato part. So I'm gonna lay all this aside, my cutting mat, and I'm gonna take my red potatoes, and we're gonna cube them. Now remember when we had Mark as a speaker, and he said when you're cutting, you make a claw. So you make a claw so you don't cut your fingers off, and we're cubing potatoes. Kind of small so that they cook faster. You would then bake these on a cookie sheet. You could even stir fry them with other foods. I'm gonna be using the air fryer, and you can hear the air fryer going because I've just got some regular potatoes with a little bit of garlic on, starting to cook. Can I have somebody go back to the air fryer over there and grab the tray out of it? It's over in kitchen 3. Okay, bring it on over. And can I also have somebody else grab a pastry brush out of their utensil drawer, just a brush that I can brush this pesto on. How about you?
What's a pastry
Just
brush?
look in one of those drawers, see if you can find a pastry brush.
Pastry brush?
So how much do you think, it looks like a big pink brush? How much do you throw potatoes around? Put that back to get washed. This dish might cost. About 1/4 of a bag of potatoes.
$20.
$20?
$5.64.
I'm using about 1/4 of a bag of potatoes. The potatoes were like $2.29, so like
27.
less than $1 there. The pesto, probably the way we've got it is probably at most $2, so maybe $3. Tiny brush.
I can't.
Oh, wait, I have
Is this a pastry brush?
That'll look good. Okay, so I'm gonna put these potatoes in. Actually, I'm gonna put them in a bag first. Okay.
Thank you for your
My
service.
potatoes in the bag. I'm gonna add some of my pesto. And then just shake it up so it's all the way covered. What else would be good with pesto on? Anybody else know what you might put pesto on would be good? Stephanie, you said you like pesto.
Noodles.
Noodles, pesto, oh, that'd be good. What else can we put pesto on? For my careers class, we're gonna make pesto and we're gonna make toasted cheese sandwiches. So we're gonna put a little pesto on that to give it a different taste. You could put it on chicken. That would be a good little, because it's a garlicky type of a taste. So I'm gonna take, I've got the pesto kind of on, shaken through. And I'm going to put it then in my air fryer. The air fryer doesn't use as much oil, or it doesn't get on the food, so it tends to be lower fat. But the way it works with an air fryer, you pour the oil to the bottom so that it is in there, but it doesn't get to the food itself. All right, so I'm gonna place this into the air fryer. Actually, can I have an assistant and just turn it on? I'm also gonna grab the food that I have in the air fryer over here that is started. It doesn't have any pesto on it though. I just cut them. You see my roasted potatoes. And I'm gonna take a little pesto and brush some pesto on it here towards the end. And by making this dish, if you were to say I'm gonna make pesto potatoes or put pesto on chicken, they're gonna think you're like some kind of French chef.
Was it? I don't know. What's the thing?
Okay, I'll come through that.
I thought it did well.
All right, can you see how it looks, the little green pesto on it? And remember, a lot of that green has also covered with cheese. And we'll stick this in for a few minutes and let it roast up. And that's how you make pesto Parmesan broiled potatoes.